have such sights to show you. We're Poppin the Scary horror podcast here. I'm your host Coale, and with me as always, I have my good friend and co-host Aaron. Aaron, hey. Happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
Thanks. Happy Thanksgiving to you too.
All right. Well, speaking of happy, you didn't seem too happy about knowing what film we were going to watch today. As soon as you're like, no, don't tell me it's this film.
My list of thanks to give this year is shorter than normal.
Yeah, that's fair. Normally, I wouldn't have felt so pressured because in the past, usually I've done like, okay, family theme. Oh, let's go back and look at previous generations. So like older monster movies and everything. But due to the fact that this episode is coming out directly on Thanksgiving Day, it's...
We gotta do it.
Oh, yeah, we have to. I mean, it's not like I have control of the podcast or something like that.
No, we are up to the whims of fate.
So you've seen the trailer for this.
Yeah.
And you seem to already have an idea on what kind of film this is gonna be.
Yeah, whenever we were in theaters last year, watching Five Nights at Freddy's?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the only time I've seen the trailer. I was like, wow, that looks like the exact... What was it, like Krampus? I can't remember which. There's a couple like holiday themed movies we watched where my main criticism was like, wow, they just like... were like, hey, we're gonna peg a scary movie to a holiday, and then there was like no thought after it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe this is that movie. I feel like it's probably intentionally campy in the year 2023, I guess is when it came out. But I don't know. There's a difference between like being intentionally campy and it still being good, and being intentionally campy and it being bad. I don't know that I have high hopes, but maybe it's gonna be good camp. Maybe it's gonna be great. I'm gonna love the pilgrim dude that's slaying people, or fucking with his little buckle hat and shit. Maybe it's gonna be awesome. Okay, I'm not reading the cover of this book and judging it before I dive in, but I also am, and I think it's gonna suck.
That's fair. Especially since you have not heard anybody really ever talk about this film.
No, it'd be one thing if this came out and then people were like, oh man, that film was like hilarious or scary or wow. But I haven't heard anything besides watching that one trailer, so...
That's fair.
We'll see. I mean, have you heard anything? Am I going to be wrong? Do fans love this?
I honestly can't speak for overall reviews of it, because I didn't really hear anything about it whatsoever. However, this film does have a little bit more of an interesting history than what you would expect, because the director Eli Roth, apparently this is a film idea that he's had for a while, because there was this film that came out called Grindhouse, which had 2 films attached back to back to it, but they would sprinkle in fake trailers in the midst of it, kind of make you feel like you're sitting in watching a double feature. And he had made a trailer, which I'll go ahead and show you a little bit of it here.
Oh, okay.
White meat, dark meat,
wow.
all will be carved.
But yeah, apparently people love that idea so much that they're like, you should make a Thanksgiving horror film and everything. And trust me, there's definitely other Thanksgiving films, like one of them's called Thanksgiving, which focuses on a animated turkey come to life to kill everybody.
Awesome.
I was not brave enough to want to watch that film. Fair. I've seen someone else review it, so I was like, okay, let's just talk about this film, because I am kind of curious about the fact that I believe that trailer was made like 2007. And so come like nearly, I don't know, like decade and a half later to visit it and everything, just to kind of see what the hullabaloo is about and see if it was worth the hype. Because I know everyone was like, oh, okay, Eli Roth is actually making a Thanksgiving horror film and everything.
Yeah, if it's like that, then I think it'll be pretty funny. It'll be pretty good. But
yeah, but it's weird because it almost seemed like, you're right, from the trailer, they played it more straight.
Yeah, which I don't think is what you want to do.
Yeah, so it's going to be kind of curious on whether that was just trailer bait.
Yeah, because sometimes trailers, I mean, you get a different company and they put together the trailer, and the trailer just sucks, but the movie's great, so who knows?
Yeah, so in all honesty, I don't know what to expect, and probably for the best.
Yeah.
So we will be right back after we just sit down around the table and just dive right into Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Where's the cranberry sauce?
This holiday season, prepare to have the stuffing scared out of you. Thanksgiving.
And we are back from watching Thanksgiving. Aaron, do you need some Pepto Bud? You seem like you have a sick stomach.
No, I'm just sick of shit movie. I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad, but yeah, it was, I don't think I was far off in my prediction that it was not going to be a good movie. I'll be bold enough to say it at the start, Kind of looked like it was going to be shit. Kind of shit. I think it's hard to pull off one of those kinds of movies where you're trying to be campy and, like, make a bad movie on purpose, because it's really, really easy to just make a bad movie and then the on purpose part not matter. It's still just a bad movie, and I think that's kind of where we are with Thanksgiving. But there's my quick and dirty review before we get into the meat of it. You want to get into the plot or what?
Yeah. I mean,
Well, how do you feel about it?
yeah, great question. It's one of those weird things that surprisingly I had a good time watching it.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I do think that there was an enjoyable watch, especially for the first half or so.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
But yeah, I'd be remiss not to feel like, okay, we're going through this trope here and this trope. It's definitely like holiday slasher sort of vibes going on, and
a little by the numbers. Yeah.
yes, very much so. So overall, I'm like at an okay spot, but we'll have to see how my feelings kind of settle out once we really kind of cut into everything and kind of
carve into this bad point.
Yeah, so basically the plot of Thanksgiving focuses on a group of high school teenagers. And their experience that they had last year during the Thanksgiving season.
The Black Friday sale.
Yes.
At the main character's dad's store that turned into a trample fest of traumatic proportions.
Yes, and so after that occurs and everything, 1 year later, turns out that someone has tagged them to go to their dinner table, but you don't know who it is, except it's by a guy named John Carver, who was the guy that helped found Plymouth Rock, which is where this story takes place and everything. And from there, a series of deaths start occurring that correlate to the incident that occurred at that Thanksgiving previously. And it's up to the teenagers to try to figure out who it is in order to save their lives.
Yeah.
It's pretty much... It's funny because that's the basic way to describe it, but it's very reminiscent of Scream.
Yeah.
Basically, it's holiday Scream and everything, I would say.
It is definitely horror comedy, yeah.
Yeah, because basically... I wasn't expecting it to be a mystery. I just thought it was just going to be some dude that goes around killing them. So I think the mystery part does help add more allure than just when's the next kill going to happen and everything.
Yeah.
But unlike my love for Scream, this one is definitely kind of like, we have Scream at Home sort of vibes
yeah.
and everything. But that being said, I still enjoyed it just fine or whatever. I mean, personally as a holiday, I enjoy Thanksgiving, got like good food and good fall vibes and everything. So having a horror film themed around it, it's like, yeah, sure. Like,
I feel like all the holidays are ripe for setting a horror movie to them. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. But it's definitely interesting that they turn it into like a horror mystery type of film as opposed to just pure horror.
Right. So just the spirit of John Carver or some shit, It's like who's behind the mask?
Doing that. But yeah, I mean, whenever it comes to plot overall, I'm perfectly fine with it. Now, with the twists and turns that these sort of mysteries take, that's whenever it starts to unravel a bit, where it's like, okay, solid idea that starts to kind of fall apart towards the end. I would still say it relatively holds intact to the end, but the holes in the crocheting are bigger and bigger by the time you get to the end.
I could agree with you there. Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm just going to give a heads up. There are so many characters in this film, which definitely too many characters, a lot of characters. So we're going to try to do our best to focus on just the main bunch. And mind you, there's a lot of characters.
Oh yeah,
some important, some unimportant, but I guess we could talk about one of the leading actresses, Nell Verloc, who plays Jessica in the film, who is the daughter of the said CEO that Aaron was mentioning, who basically is...
Of Right Mart.
Yes, of Right Mart, which is basically your average retail store that has everything you need there.
Like
that
local retail chain that would have existed before Walmart swept the country kind of thing.
Yeah, and I felt like overall, like with her character, they tried to give her some characterizations.
Yeah.
But all I got from her is just, she's just trying to do her best, and she misses her mom. And she's caught in the middle of an awkward love triangle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she is definitely the character that has no real personality herself.
No.
But is defined by all of the other things that are attached to her, which is, daughter of the Right Mart, and then two boys fight over her for some reason. And... Yeah. Other than that, she's just like all kind of somewhat normal in a group of like psychopaths. I don't, in a group of the worst teenagers, she's like, I think maybe we shouldn't kill this old lady with a baseball bat or whatever. I mean, they don't literally do that, but but she's just like, I mean, they do a good job of, I think, characterizing this group of teens generally as like bad people, but she's like one of the people that's like, you're not supposed to root against, so she's not a bad person. She's like, guys, I don't know if we should be in the store taunting the rioters outside or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's also smart. I think she's characterized as being like pretty clever, at least towards the end of the movie too. Whenever you get to see her in action more. But...
That is true. I will give her credit because it definitely was kind of like a rough start where, again, I do agree with you, Aaron. She is very much characterized by situations as opposed to actual personality traits. Yeah. I mean, you did say it right in the fact that out of the group, she's definitely the one with the better moral compass.
the least shitty.
Yes.
Her and Bobby, I guess. Bobby with an asterisk. But yeah, we'll get to him.
Yes, exactly. So overall, I don't have anything against the acting. I felt like I believed it overall. There definitely wasn't some like, a lot of times actors show up and you could tell they're reading from a script.
Yeah.
Which, I will say across the board, I didn't really see any acting that was too abhorrent where it was just like, okay, this throws me out of the film.
I saw some, but
okay.
I mean,
you'll have to point it out.
I think it did fit the vibe. I mean, I don't think they were.
That's true.
Trying to make
campy
cinema.
vibe.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes, but
so it blends in. But yeah.
Yes, but as for Nell, at very least, I felt like her acting was fairly solid and everything.
She was fine.
So and let's talk about the boyfriend she had, Bobby, played by Jalen Thomas Brooks. And again, he's the other guy who's just genuinely like super nice dude and everything, but after the Thanksgiving incident that occurred and everything, he disappears for a year. But by the time Thanksgiving rolls around, he's back in town to help his uncle out with his business.
Suspiciously, suddenly back after having a grudge. Could he be the killer? I'm gonna be saying this about everybody that could be the killer, by the way. So.
And I think that's smart.
Yeah.
I think that's smart. I mean, could Jessica be the killer?
I think that's the one that's like, that's the one you're following. That's the one that can't, actually. But everybody else, they might be. They all have motives, I guess.
But
because he also got his arm broke. He's the golden arm. He's a baseball guy, and he had the golden arm, but then he got his arm trampled in the incident. So he's got beef.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because now that I'm thinking about it, this sort of like love triangle plot they have going on is very similar to like the My Valentine story.
Oh, My Bloody Valentine, yeah.
Yeah, where like a horrible incident occurs, or at least especially with the remake one, a horrible incident occurs, and the love interest of the main gal is gone for a year, but then suddenly he's back in town.
Yeah.
You know, just because we need more suspects and everything.
No, I think any element of this movie you could point to another movie and be like, yep, they did it. I don't think this is a very original film. Yeah, but I'm picking up what you're putting down. Yes, it is very My Bloody Valentine.
Yes, when I'm not going to be like,
it's a common trope. Yeah,
which I'm not going to say it's a ripoff, but it is funny that it is taking place after a holiday slasher, right, as well. So, just funny observations, I guess, overall. But yeah, and it just kind of serves as the same trope of just like, you know, again, rolling back into town, but for what reason? And he still has the
mysterious return of the guy that has a motive. Yeah.
You know, who had previous relations with the main gal and everything, and was also impacted by the overall catastrophe that occurred that Black Friday.
My Bloody Valentine. The more you talk about it, it really is.
But I felt like overall he was fine. I felt like overall he's just given generic, like, it's like he arrived on set, he's like, okay, you're the boyfriend that's returned back to town and action.
He's like, yeah. I mean, like, all the characters are pretty cookie cutter. Yeah,
and you know, no disrespect to Jalen, I felt like he did fine.
No, yeah. I mean, everything. I think they are all designed to be cookie cutter as well, as the caveat. I'll put
definitely helps.
And I think he does a good job being that stereotype.
Definitely helps that he has a little Riz.
Yeah,
a little Riz.
He's the Rizzler. Yeah, he's got that. You know, there's like several jock archetypes here, and he's the one who cares. You know, he's the sensitive jock. He's like, all right, babe. Don't worry about these douchebags, you know? I got you.
Yeah. And I'm not sure who to tackle next in a group, so I guess I'll go by Google listing. We'll go with Gabby, played by Addison Rae, and I honestly couldn't tell you a defining
I don't even know which one she is.
I believe she was the girlfriend to Evan, the biggest. Like,
okay. Yeah, the two. Yeah. I mean, yeah. All right, the two assholes. Like, it's like the cheerleader football star asshole combo.
Yes, that one, okay, that one there, and that, like literally, they gave her nothing to work with. It's just like. Yep, you're just like the arm candy to the biggest asshole alive.
Right.
Which, don't worry, we'll talk about him real soon. But it's just funny that on Google she gets second listing for that, but I guess she probably is a bigger star.
Yeah, that's one of the few names I recognized. I was like, Addison Rae. I think she sings or something.
Yeah.
Or she does porn. I don't know.
She sings.
Okay, great. That's the one. Yeah. It's kind of a porn star name. Talk to her agent about that. But.
Yeah, sorry, Addison, don't have too much to say about. But at the same point, it felt like she wasn't terrible in it to where she stuck out.
No, I mean,
it's just.
I don't think there's a lot of. I don't know if anybody stuck out.
She's one of the main people, and we don't have anything to say.
They're all on the same level of mediocre. To be honest with you.
Yeah, let's talk about her arm candy. Evan, played by Tommaso Sanelli, who
the biggest cunt you could imagine. Just a smelly little high school quarterback. Yeah.
The amount of douchery this man exhibits.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, kudos to Tommaso and everything for exerting that much dickery as there was.
Right.
Because in all honesty, he is probably one of the biggest douchebags in the world. The only person that would trump would be that one guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4. The amount, like, that dude is ascended, asshole ascended, and everything.
Wrong with that movie.
But yeah, he's just basically the asshole of the group that instigates and is just absolute jerk.
Always ready to fight. Yeah, he's just constantly doing anything he can to belittle other people. Yeah, he's just an asshole, and he's supposed to be the asshole. So
yeah. And he does well. He does well as being an unlikable asshole and everything. And I don't know if, like, the amount that... I mean, I guess it was done well enough because I wasn't like, I just want to see this dude killed already, because they do tone down the assholery. Yeah. But, like, at the start of the film, just break that up to 11. Like, it's just full on... just over the top.
Yeah, like, I think he's the one driving the car in the beginning. He's like, we gotta go to the store right now. And there's, like, a crowd trying to bust
yes, he was. Yeah, he's like, I need a new phone. Yeah.
And then he pulls into the handicap spot. And, like, they do everything they can to make him, like, obviously in your face. Like, he is supposed to be a dick and you're supposed to not like him.
Yeah, and then just by the jump of the next year and stuff, they still make him an asshole, but they've toned back. But it's just so crazy how all in on the chips they were about trying to make him super unlikable, but then tone it back. The only way they could have made it worse is if he was just like, basically being bigoted as well or whatever. He's just straight asshole.
If this was like an 80s movie, he would have thrown out a couple slurs. But,
for sure. Disrespected women
they played
more.
It safe, he would have just he probably would have called somebody the F slur, or like, been casually like transphobic or something. They would have slid that in, but they played it a little safe with this movie. It's a 2023 release.
Which is funny because if you look at his photo on Google, it's like him young.
Yeah, so he's baby-faced. And we're describing him as the biggest asshole, and he just looks like a nice kid on the Google images. He's like, hey, how are you? And we're like, hey, fuck this guy. In particular.
Yeah, and...
That's the power of acting, baby.
Yeah, and going back to another top listing, we have... Yulia, played by Jenna Warren.
Yeah.
And boy, let me tell you something about her.
Yeah.
She's blonde.
Yeah, she's blonde, she's Russian, she's a cheerleader. It's like they rolled some dice and that was her character. They're like, alright, and then let's just give her a little something. Maybe she's Russian. Yulia. Oh, now this is a character. Now this is depth. We're reaching depths I've never depthed before.
Yep. And
1 centimeter into the earth with my shovel.
Yeah. And that's all I have to say. Like, literally, just copy and paste everything we said about Addison Rae's character, Gabby, and paste it on Yulia, except she's Russian.
I'm telling you right now, we're giving more time to developing these characters in the moment than they ever did in the writing.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Right here, right now. If you watch this movie... Don't expect further characterization than what we're giving them. I think we're giving them far more than what is in the script.
Yeah.
We're being generous.
Yeah, for sure. And the last one of the group I will mention is, as you mentioned even before, is Yulia's boyfriend, Scuba, played by Gabriel Davenport. And I think he's definitely one of the better actors.
Yeah.
But is still not hardly given anything besides, like, he starts to, again, like, towards the end, just be like, okay, we need to solve this and everything, and helps kind of drive solving it with Jessica and everything.
You know what's really funny to me? And I could be totally off base with this. You can call me out on it, too. You can call me on my bullshit.
Okay, I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
I think they tried to make the one character that's not a stereotype the black character because they felt bad. But I think they gave him kind of more characters. They kind of almost on par with like the main lead girl like without the justification. Not that they give him that much characterization. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They're not going crazy with it, but I think they make him a more nuanced character than anyone else. Even though all the other characters are exact stereotypes, it's really funny to me that the one black guy in the cast has like, I don't know, some character and personality.
That's not a character.
It's like they did the reverse race, and like, all right, we can't make him just the token black guy. When this would have been the perfect movie for it, because everyone else is just a stereotype cardboard cutout.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just years of guilt, like especially because if you watch, I mean, you're talking about like if this was in the 80s or 90s. If Gabrielle Davenport was in the 80s or 90s, the script would have just been way fucking worse for him.
Right.
Like, anything you watch from 80s and 90s, if you have any sort of, like, African American heritage,
right, you're not making it.
No, like you're just,
you're not gonna be in the end of the movie, dog.
Yeah, not only that, but just in dialogue and everything.
Yeah.
Like, because I think it's good that his character was more nuanced and just more
right. I do
normal.
But I almost wonder, because so much about this seems like they're trying to kind of do like a love letter to like 80s slashers or something. But then like, I mean, I think they false face on a lot of that, and we'll reach that whenever we get to criticism parts.
Yeah,
but I think it's funny. I wonder if they just did stereotypes for everybody, and then the studio stepped in and was like, "You can't do that for the black character. we don't want to get in trouble."
Yes, exactly. So that's one thing I will say to Eli Roth. Well done with the restraint.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I think you should make everybody just fucking stupid. I mean, my main thing, if I had to go back into this movie, is I think they should have made it more like those YouTube trailers you showed me, the little fake Thanksgiving trailers that were like objectively like low budget. 80s, 90s, I don't know, 70s looking ass slasher with the lines across the screen.
Yeah, it is kind of funny.
I wish they would have done that, but yeah, we'll get there.
And it's not only that, it is funny because if you look at the, like, we're getting off characters, but really there's not so too many characters to talk about, but that is kind of one of the things that took me out of it is Black Friday as a whole has seen a severe decline in sort of the retail hysteria over the past few years.
Nobody even goes to retail stores. Like,
yeah, generally. Exactly. It's all online, or retailers are opening it all month long to deals.
Right.
The deals are getting worse.
Yeah.
And overall, a lot of stores are actually just not open the next day or whatever. Yeah, or at least open on Thanksgiving. I know there was like that period of time where they're like, oh yeah, we're open Thanksgiving, we're doing Black Friday early and everything. So just seeing like this takes place in modern day and seeing like an absolute ravenous level crowd,
it does seem like this would be a funnier critique 10 years ago or whatever. When that was
like
thing,
it's like, because the trailer that he made for Thanksgiving and Grindhouse was in 2007, and I would say like Black Friday was still at hysterical levels and everything of mass hysteria and everything. But in a year, like, especially because they don't have a time frame, but you can assume it's somewhat recent, especially with the streaming and smartphone technology they implement and everything. It definitely does take it on, like, and especially because, like, the deal at the beginning is, like, you know, like, oh, first 100 guests get a free waffle iron, which I know is supposed to be, like, a meme, like, yeah, people are willing to do terrible things for a mediocre appliance if it's free.
But it's a tired meme at this point.
Yeah, it's like, and, you know, it's one of those things that I feel like with the way the film is currently, it wouldn't work if you did it a couple of years. I mean, a few years ago.
I think they should have done a period piece.
No, I think they should have, but they would have had to change some of the aspects.
Right.
You know,
I think they should have done that.
Yes, for sure. But yeah, and so that is one thing that took me out of it there. I'll go ahead and finish with the few people that's here and everything, but one of the figures that's in the love triangle is Ryan, played by Milo Manheim, who basically is just super nice dude that doesn't get a chance, but then you know,
he's super nice slime ball is what he is, bro.
Oh,
I think he's presented that way.
Yeah,
where he's bit. Like, because like she arrives there literally with her boyfriend, and he knows that she's dating him, and he's like, hey, I see you're without your boyfriend for approximately 5 seconds. Would you like to come to this this party, just you and me? And she's like, no, actually, my boyfriend's in town. And he's like, all right, well, just come by, just early, just quickly, just a little bit. And then she's like, no. And then her little Steve Buscemi's son looking ass dude, even though he's not Steve Buscemi's son, is like, when are you gonna learn? So it's like, it's hinted that he's been trying to like steal this dude's girl forever. I don't know, kind of slimeball behavior. But then all of a sudden a year passes and they're together. So.
Yeah. And again, it's just, again, think of like My Bloody Valentine, where they're supposed to be at odds with one another, and they heavily hint like, oh, one of them could be the killer and everything.
Right.
Just for different reasons and everything. So I understand that. And they do have like a slew of like, potential suspects and everything. Mm-hmm. Like
He's definitely one of the ones that they set up to be a suspect. Bobby's set up to be a suspect. Who else?
And they have
the dad.
You're talking about Mitch, who worked
Mitch,
at the store.
Yeah, the guy that worked there.
Who was played by Ty Olson, and
his wife was trampled to death in the store. Yeah.
Yes, slash spoilers, but we got to talk about early spoilers. You know what I'm saying?
Like the first 10 minutes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, basically with him and everything, he basically has like sort of like revenge arc, and I'm like, man, we're going to get a lot of characterization from him. And then as the film goes on, we find out what happens to that.
True.
Then one of the other suspects that ends up popping up is, Thomas Wright, the CEO of Wright Mart and everything, played by...
Wants all this to be swept under the rug.
Rick Hoffman and everything, and he's just typical CEO asshole, but then they try to reel back his character by like, but he's still a loving father.
Right.
Like, and they do that back and forth, and I feel like it just doesn't work with his character. It's just very swayed back and forth.
Yeah, it's
unrealistically.
Interesting how they do that, I suppose. But...
And then you have like Kathleen, who's like the mother-in-law and everything.
Yeah, the guy that he remarries that the main girl doesn't like.
Yeah, played by Karen Cliché and everything.
Hey, that's a good last name.
You said it, not me.
Yeah.
Yes, well, technically I said it, but you know what I mean. But yeah, and like I said, there are other characters.
We got Patrick Dempsey's in this movie as the sheriff.
Yeah. My wife.
Here.
I know. My wife was like floored by it. Like, they cast Patrick Dempsey as like a minor role or whatever as the sheriff popping up.
Yeah, I mean he pops up kind of frequently, but like he is definitely like a side character. Yeah,
so that's definitely interesting. And again, like you only see him like, you see him sporadically throughout the film, but usually it's just him trying to figure out, who's going around killing everybody.
Yeah, he's the sheriff, so naturally he ends up at all the crime scenes.
Yeah, doing that. And I felt like he was fine overall. Like, no issues whatsoever. Seems like dude trying to help out the town and everything.
Yeah, he was fine. I think most of the flaws with him were just script stuff, but I mean, he did what he could.
Yeah, and I do have to talk about, before we get to the killer and kind of talking about design wise, everything else that I like to discuss while we talk about slashers.
John Carver.
My favorite character in the entire film, I think you know who it is.
Oh, the gun guy?
Yes, the gun guy. McCarty, played by Joe Delfin. This dude is going to be the character I remember the most.
He actually has probably the most characterization out of anybody.
Which is funny, because he's...
insanely minor.
He has side character energy... I guess side character description, but main character energy.
Literally, him and his sidekick are probably the two people I'm going to remember out of this movie, and collectively they have like maybe 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, and I think it was, let's see. I think it's this dude right here, Jordan Poole.
Oh, he's not even... Okay, yeah. No, that is him, yeah.
Okay.
Is he not even fucking listed on the... Where is Jordan Poole on this list? He's not even on the Google cast list.
Oh, man. Look at that Riz.
Dude.
That Riz.
The raised eyebrow. That's a headshot, dude.
I know.
Dude, he looks like the fucking nerd that's going to sell me Adderall.
But yes, so it's so funny that Aaron and I's favorite characters are just background characters that...
Yeah, because those are the guys that they accidentally characterized the most. And I don't know, maybe it wasn't accidental, but... it was a terrible decision to have your most interesting characters be the ones that have no impact on the story.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It really is in everything. But yeah, because like I guess I'll let you go first and talk about why you like his character Jacob. Or
Just that little
whatever it's
guy,
called.
he
Yeah.
just has some funny lines. He has some character. He's a little snarky. He looks like Steve Buscemi, and he kind of talks like him too. I don't know. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know about him. He's always in somebody's hustle, but he's also a side. I don't know. He's like the sidekick of the side character. So there's not even that much to talk about him. But when he's on screen, he actually has like a presence, unlike almost everybody else. The other person that has a presence is the guy that he's working for, the gun sales dude, McCarthy or whatever.
Yes, exactly, and like it's. I don't know if a film is like succeeding or failing whenever we care about a character that
I think
like
it's failing.
Yes.
I know. I think it's succeeding at its goal, which is to be a bad movie. But I don't know why that's your goal. You should try to be a good bad movie, and maybe that's what it was trying to do, but it didn't quite hit the good part.
Yeah, but like with me, McCarty was just fun because like he shows up or whatever, and he's that one older dude that hangs around the high school
Yeah.
a little too long.
Right.
But like in the sense that he wants to be the cool guy and just be like, hey, I could get you alcohol and guns.
Right. But see, even that right there, you can distill his character down to that. That is still so much more interesting than like asshole jock, cheerleader 1, cheerleader 2, nepo daughter. Fucking like I could sum up all these other characters we talked about. Sheriff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In like sometimes one word, like they have nothing else going for them. But these guys are like, yeah, there's the one guy you hang around the high school, and you're like, oh, I know that guy or whatever. Like yes, you could still pick a little stereotype that's like interesting, but like none of the other ones they picked are interesting.
Well, and he just has some of the best moments in the film.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
They
And so-
let him have fun, which is funny because they like try to let the other characters have fun, but it just comes off as like because it's coming from them. But like these guys are like characters, they're real characters, and they're delivering lines. It's like all right,
Yeah, and in all honesty, that's one of the reasons why I would go back and rewatch this film. It's just for those scenes.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Because it's just funny. Like
Right.
this dude.
they're a funny combo, and that guy in particular is funny. Yeah,
Yeah, and so it's sad that he wasn't used more, but I don't want him to overstay his welcome, I guess. But overall, kudos to you, Joe Delphine, absolute player of the game. Only competition would be Jordan Poole playing Jacob. So kudos to you guys, given lemons and made lemonade out of him.
right. That's your job, isn't it? That's what I said when I like want somebody did a good job acting. It's like, yeah, you were in a turd of a movie and you made it work for you. Like that's what you got to do.
Yeah, and I guess we should talk about the main guy himself that appears and everything, since we don't know who's behind the mask.
Yeah.
But John Carver, as he's called, which I guess the stunt man or guy that played him a lot was Adam McDonald. And what do you think about the slasher John Carver?
I think that is the premise this entire film is built around, and it's not a bad foundation. It's really not, especially when you're doing horror comedy. You have to be a little self-aware when you're doing like holiday. Okay, this is probably the most appropriate killer, a pilgrim with an axe or a blunderbuss or some shit, you know. Yeah, I like the concept. I think I like it less because the entire movie leaned on it, but I don't mind it. I really don't. I like it more seeing the version of it in those little teaser trailers that you saw of that, where it was like 80s slasher and like because I don't know, I think that fit the whole corny vibe. Watching it in a 2023 movie that's like very nicely produced, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of ruins a little bit of the camp for me of the character himself, but I don't mind it. I really don't. I don't think it's the most like creative thing in the world, but I do think it's a good idea, and I think they did execute the idea. Period. That's my nice version, but yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's actually kind of interesting whenever it comes to choosing, you know, John Carver as the image of a slasher and everything,
Yeah.
because as it's made apparent, it villainizes, the idea of like Black Friday shopping. Not that you have to try super hard to villainize it, but that's what
pretty easy target.
that's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that they're located in Plymouth, Rock area and everything, and just having this person going around killing people be the face of the man who basically founded Plymouth Rock, who started the first Thanksgiving, and kind of having the spirit of Thanksgiving be there. I think like on oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of the word, on like a meaningful level, I guess it makes sense, because again, he's targeting a lot of the people who kind of took part in that whole thing and everything. So I think like it's very much in the spirit of Thanksgiving, and I don't know, I'm very much love-hate with the costume design and everything.
Yeah.
Because first off, it's very coincidental. I mean, I say coincidental, but that a diner is handing out, John Carver mask, which is very...
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess, like, if any place in America is going to do it, it's going to be Plymouth Colony, I guess. But at the same point, it's just a little too convenient and everything, but
it's also,
I guess it just also feeds into the fact it could be anybody. They're getting these masks everywhere.
Right. It's like I don't know, it's somewhat familiar too. It feels very like V for Vendetta, or like very,
Yes, I was getting Guy Fawkes vibes as well with the look.
He looks very Guy Fawkesy, and the concept is also the same, where like it could be anyone. He's in the crowd. Who knows? Because it's a man. Which is also, I mean, you mentioned Scream before. It definitely. That's a premise that they carried well in Scream that I just don't think they carried that well in this movie. But
yeah, and it's like whenever it comes to the outfit, it's like, okay, you have the John Carver mask, you have the pilgrim hat, and then just like a black suit. Like it's all black and everything, which I know they're doing it because they don't want to have any sort of reveal of like, oh, it has to be this person by looking at their exactly. And while I get it, and it's probably more realistic looking, not to mention it just be more laughable just seeing a pilgrim go around killing people, it definitely feels a teensy bit uninspired, if that makes sense. Because, I mean, you look at all the slashers and everything, and they always have, like, an aura about them and everything. Now, granted, I know that Scream, it has the benefit of the fact that whenever the film was being made, the Ghostface costume already exists, which is an absolute badass costume.
Yeah.
So that's going to be just hard to top on a whodunit and everything. You can't have like original like slasher gear like, Jason, Michael, Freddy, something like that. But at the same point, it just feels very nuanced. But at the same point, I don't hate it. It's like very...
I'm with you. I think the reason those other movies just sell it better, they have a better reason for it. This one is like, sure, I guess there's these masks everywhere in Plymouth, Massachusetts in this universe, but like there are so many other universe things that they're really just like really asking you to buy.
Yes.
buy into that, like when it like this is just another ask from the movie. It's like, okay, I guess all these people could be conveniently wearing masks, and then, ooh, they're all in the parade. Who's in it?
Yeah.
Like, I guess. Like, sure, I'll buy it, but like we're reluctant at that point, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess overall, whenever it comes to like the idea of like John Carver going around killing people, I'm overall like fine with it. It's like, yep, it's fine. I feel like there's some good and there's some meh.
What I think a lot of the good lines does inspire a lot of the kills. It inspires, like to be Thanksgiving themed, to be pilgrim themed, be historical or whatever. So I do think that's the good aspect. I think that's probably what they were really fueling on, and then they were probably writing the script around that kind of shit, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that they were probably like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if they, I don't want to spoil any of the kills right now, but did some Thanksgiving ass shit, and then, they were writing all that parts, and they're like, all right, we have to figure out how these all connect together.
Yeah, I think they definitely exhausted a lot of the Thanksgiving style kills.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, again, Eli Roth's had a lot of time to stew on the idea since he even came up with the concept
Probably
of
a decade,
it.
at least, before they started filming it.
Which, I definitely will say the kills definitely help add flair to this film, as opposed to making it feel like generic slasher. So like the uniqueness of the kills makes up for the lack of like, oh man, John Carver, like we talked about this on Terrifier about like how I believe art has already just made himself an icon of horror. I feel like the John Carver killer is going to be just out on the outer recesses of iconic horror characters.
You
It's
think
definitely
so? On the outer recesses even? I don't even know if it's going to last the test of time.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
like
okay,
like it's far away.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I got you.
It's like after you've named 100 slashers, you're like, who else? John Carver from Thanksgiving. That's mostly what I'm getting at.
Only the really good Jeopardy heads are going to get this one in 5 years, yeah.
Yes.
Who was the main killer of Thanksgiving? Oh, fuck. People are going to be really racking their brains.
Who was John Carver?
Yeah.
Correct.
It's going to be the one guy that wins like
Yes.
50 games in a row. He's got it on lock. Everybody else is going to miss that question.
Yeah, and let's and so you mentioned overall, were you a fan of the kills in this film?
Fan's a really strong word. I admire the creativity of many of the kills. Some of the other ones were pretty obvious, but I would say I admire the creativity. That's the positive I put on it.
Yeah, and I know with these mystery type episodes, it's kind of hard to talk about stuff, even though we have already spent 40 minutes just talking, which half of it took talking about the characters and everything.
Many.
How do you feel like the mystery progressed and reached its reveal and everything?
Yeah, once again, hard to talk about mysteries. I didn't like the reveal. I kind of knew I wasn't going to like it going in. I will say, I hate, like, part of me hates being myself when I watch these movies, because, like, I watch a movie and, like, my monkey brain has pattern recognition. I have watched movies before, and so I watch movies like this, and I know, I feel like we've watched enough shitty murder mystery movies, and I have watched enough shitty murder mystery movies on my own to piece together how they work. And in this kind of movie, in the year 2023, the modern murder mystery schlop bullshit that you watch at the theater, which I would categorize this in. I can't even say it because it'll spoil it. I'll tell you the spoilers. But, like, I knew I wasn't going to know who the killer was. I'll put it that way. Because they don't actually give you reasonable, because they want a twist. I don't know. And it's always horseshit, and it's never satisfying, and it's always stupid. And I would say that is true of this movie, too. I wish this movie would have at least leaned into the stupidity, as is, I think, was supposed to be the inspiration for this movie. I think the ultimate failure of this movie is that it's a stupid movie that they try to polish up too much to not be stupid, and it's like, well, why are you making the movie? At least make it really stupid if it's gonna be stupid. But
I'm with you. Like, as soon as, like, the mystery progressed, and it's like, okay, where are we going with this and everything, and then the reveal is had, and the motives are revealed and everything. It's very much like you're talking about, like, that one breadcrumb.
Right.
But not only that, I'm just going to mention this. They literally withhold information from the audience.
That's my thing. That's my beef with modern murder. Every time I'm like, if I'm watching a bad movie in the last 2 decades that is a murder mystery, I know they're just going to do a surprise bullshit hat pick at the end as the killer. And so when I'm watching, I'm not thinking who done it. I start thinking, okay, well, it's not this guy because they're making this one too obvious. It's not this guy. So I start crossing them off the list, but I don't ever. I'm never confident of who it's going to be at the end. It could be anybody because They don't actually, it's not like a classic, really good, well thought out murder mystery, actual mystery where the audience, they give you just enough that if you're really cognizant, then you could like brain blast it together. They don't do that. They just like give you a bunch of red herrings and then they're like, I don't know, whoever the fuck we feel like at the end is actually the reason.
Yeah, and I think that's what, like, and trust me, I already can imagine writing a good mystery is hard. It's very difficult,
Yes,
and everything. But at the same point, if you're withholding pieces and everything,
then it's not a mystery anymore.
Yeah,
a mystery fundamentally can be solved.
yeah, and that was like the other thing as well that I was thinking about is like technically they don't hold everything, but it's just like what moments that could just be taken as whatever in passing, like mean something, I guess, but you never know whether it's actually going to mean something or not, especially with how many red herrings they're throwing out.
Right, especially a movie that's like kind of intended to be a little dumb too.
Yeah, and so that's why I give like a lot of credit to like, the Scream franchise. Because I feel like there's a lot of times where they aren't pulling any punches. They're giving you clues. You just overlook them.
Every waking day it's been since we watched Scream and we bring it up, I think more favorably of it. Because I realize I hadn't had the context of watching as many slashers as I had until we watched Scream. And now that I think about Scream, I'm like, yes, it is parodying a lot of these things in a really good way. But
well, you'll have to give it another look-see maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's dive into our ratings, I guess, because there's really nothing else I can think of to talk about this film. Aaron, please tell us, what do you rate Thanksgiving?
3 out of 10.
Okay. Anyways,
what do you think, man?
That's all he wanted to say. 3 out of 10,
I'll give it a 3 out of 10. Listen, I don't know. I could rehash that. I've been kind of being critical during this entire whole first part because, man, I think a lot is being held up by the premise and the kills that are like good enough. But so much of this movie is just an outright failure, especially considering the source material, which would have just been a lot better. I feel like, and this is maybe just a me thing, all right, so hate me if you want to. I feel like in the year of our Lord, currently, 2024, I guess this was made in 2023, when you're making movies with the intention of being camp and you want to recreate that 80s camp feel, which is, I can only assume what this movie wanted to do, given the little trailers that they started on the 2007 stuff that Coale showed, and given the, like, I don't know, stereotypical slasher aspects and stuff that they're building on, and the sort of the stupidity and, like, the obvious, like, humor of, like, yeah, they're pulling into the handicap spot, yeah, they're, like, objectively fucking shitty teenagers, yeah, the dialogue has all these jokes in it, like, they're trying to be a stupid movie, but they just polished it too much. It's just, like, they try to make it too safe, they try to make it, like, they remove everything that makes camp fun, which is the character, which is that the heart in it. It's like, yes, they didn't have the budget to make these movies. Yes, they didn't have good actors to make these movies. But yes. So the result is really cheesy and corny, but there's still a lot of character and love into it. Or like, they might not be masterful cinema, but there's an enjoyment. There's a good factor. I'm trying to define camp for you guys. You already know what camp is, though. But then whenever you try to recreate camp on purpose, to just be like, bad movie, but funny. It's like, it turns out, like, the movie started for me, like, kind of funny, but stupid. And then it just turned kind of stupid funny. And then it just ended up being stupid by the time I was, like, 2/3 of the way through. Because, like, we've been watching the joke for an hour and a half now. It's the same joke. And it's gotten old by the time we hit the hour and a half mark, and it just wasn't stupid enough. There wasn't enough overt comedy, and they didn't go the other direction enough, which I think was good, because if you tried to make a full serious movie about Pilgrim Man that kills people, then that would be an obvious mistake. So they made it like a little stupid, but they didn't make it stupid enough. It's not even like really entering the area of black comedy for me, because it's like not that funny enough to be like a comedy. Like, I can see they're going for funny, there were some good lines, but like whenever they try to be funny, it's not. Whenever they try to be cheesy, it's just like, yeah, this is like HD 4K, I can see everybody's pores and all the like shots are perfect. It's not like a like, I don't know, they're like trying to make a bad movie, but like then the cinematography is literally perfect because it's the year 2024 and you just hire a camera crew to do shit for you. Like, put in some bad shots, put in some shaky cam, like, use a shitty camera. I don't know. It's like they wanted to get all the vibe of that without anything that makes that vibe work. And what they made was just like schlop to make some money on a holiday film because people would go see it in theaters, I guess. Hopefully it made money. Good for you guys, but it's a shit film. It's a 3 out of 10. But that said, I did enjoy it. The stupid, so stupid it's funny aspect carried me through at least the first half, and I was laughing. But by the end of it, just wasn't that funny anymore.
Well, just to put some light on some stuff, it did make money.
Woo!
On a budget of $15 million, it grossed $46.6 million.
$15 million went into that movie.
Yeah.
You know how many kids you can feed with $15 million?
At least one.
At least one. And that would have been a better use.
Don't worry. Maybe they'll make up ground with Thanksgiving 2 coming out, hopefully in 2025.
I want you to picture a child starving and dying on the street. And then I want you to picture a studio executive with $15 million making a movie about Pilgrim Man. And then I want you to ask yourself, is this the world you want to live in?
Man, we're getting deeply political on the podcast. Poppin the Scary politics. Doing that.
No, I don't even give a fuck. You can spend $15 million on whatever the fuck you want. But I understand how economy works. I know that all it went to paying people to make the movie. Okay. I know how money works. I'm not one of those guys. I'm just being funny, all right? Unlike this movie.
Look, I am trying to say...
The top 1% of this country owns 90% of the wealth.
God, that's a hell of a Bernie impersonation.
I've listened to him a lot. I'm guilty.
Thanksgiving could have fed at least 5 kids. A really nice meal.
$15 million. Could have spent, at least 1 or 2 kids in Brooklyn. Could have paid off that. I don't know the math. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm like 80 fucking thousand years old. I'm still gonna be a better president than anybody you could put up. Still objectively more popular than either of the candidates in the last race. You look at my approval ratings, look at their approval ratings. I don't know why the fuck they put Kamala Harris in there. They could put me. I don't know why the fuck they put Hillary Clinton in there. They could have put me.
They keep fucking punching me.
Joe Biden's a pussy. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna be alright. I'll be honest with you. my Bernie impression's slipping.
No, I mean, it was a hell of an impression. Okay.
I'm gonna put my mittens on and fold my arms and let you talk.
Okay, that's... You're fine. Yeah, so it's like Aaron mentioned, there's definitely a lot of dumb, fun stuff in the film that does give this film actual ground to stand on, because if it didn't, I can't even begin to imagine how Aaron would have carved this film down to a 1, potentially. Technically, he has not rated film a 1 on the podcast. I've gotten close, but I think in hindsight, I still might say Texas Chainsaw 4 is a 2, a very generous forgiving.
I don't know if we're ever going to watch a 1. I've got pretty specific criteria for what makes a 1 and what makes a 0. We could watch a 0 even on this podcast.
Ooh, damn. It's like a Greg Mortis' score. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4 where he just wins 0. Yeah, so with that said and everything, I genuinely had a pretty good time watching it. Definitely the reveal of the mystery definitely tanks it, where I'm like, ugh, I don't know, but I don't know, man. I just totally got the vibes, and there's just small nuances what the film did, whether it's certain characters or just certain moments they included, that I'll talk about more and everything, that I was like, you know what, this is funny, I enjoy it or whatever. In the spirit of being thankful for this position, I will give it a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10. It's pretty generous. Like, if I was being more critical, I'd probably lop it down to a 4 or whatever. Yeah. But, like, I don't know, like that 4 to 5 range, I feel generous, though, to ramp it up to a smooth 5. I feel like it does enough unique stuff to warrant it to be an enjoyable watch. Now, I don't know how it'd be on a second watch. It might just be like, since I know what's coming up, like, okay, takes a little bit of the surprise out or whatever, but I don't know. It's a decent flick. I mean, for a holiday slasher that Eli Roth has been sitting on the idea for since 2007, it's pretty all right, you know, and it's streaming on Netflix, so it's like if you need something in season that's horror, you can certainly do much worse whenever it comes to Thanksgiving horror, I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I just enjoyed some of the small, stupid stuff, or great characters they genuinely had sitting in the background.
True. Couple gems.
Yes, couple of gems for sure and everything. So, yeah, you know, Aaron gave it a 3. I give it a 5. Gray had a cool 4 and everything. So, yeah, let that be your determination on whether you want to watch this film or not, because we're about to start to slice into the spoilers here. Anyways, Aaron, let's talk about the first spoiler you want to...
All right. I'll give you a prime example of why I say I hate myself when I watch these movies. It's because I can't help. I limited myself to 2 predictions that both came true. But, like, whenever the musket thing was mentioned, I was like, wow, that is such an obvious, specific line that has to be the way they kill the bad guy. And then, of course, it was. Like, I don't... There's so many things in the movie where it's just like they say it, and I'm like, yep, that's coming up. And probably in this exact moment. And then that's the exact thing that happens. Because I've watched movies before. And they're not being subtle about it. And I know this is not, you know, they're not trying to make fucking masterpiece cinema. They're trying to make something very easily enjoyable, consumable by the masses, which is appropriate for Thanksgiving. We're all here to consume. But, yeah. No, that's my first spoiler, is when she was like, my dad made me film this commercial and made me load the musket. He made sure Jim looks at the camera. She gets real close. He made sure I knew how to load a musket. He made sure I knew how to do that. And then, you know, like 15 minutes later, the dude rolls up and fires off a blunderbuss or whatever. And I'm like, well, there's where she's going to get the musket. And then,
which, can I just mention, that was a hell of a shot.
That's a great shot.
Both of them in colonial clothing, where my man McCarty is holding a blunderbuss, fire into the sky, and the sheriff's like, hey, what are you doing firing that gun there? He's like, it's fine, it's not loaded with ammo.
Yeah. Well,
he's like, I had to fire it, it was already loaded.
Right. And then, of course, that all comes in later. I didn't expect that she was going to do chain shot with her mom's fucking... Oh my god. I knew that was stupid and hokey, and like it was going to play some role, because they kept on bringing it up, and it had absolutely nothing to do with fucking anything, so I knew it had to play some sort of pivotal role. But I did not realize, to be fair, I did not guess she was going to lock it in the musket and blunderbuss it at Patrick Dempsey. Spoiler alert. But... Yeah,
and it's funny because, yes, obviously we're in spoiler sections, but it turns out the sheriff who Patrick Dempsey plays was...
for no reason at all, except for I was actually having an affair with the wife that died, and now I'm mad about it, I guess.
Oh, yeah, and
that wasn't mentioned.
Oh, and also, she was pregnant with child. She was going to leave.
She was with child.
Yeah.
We had to amp up the drama a little bit so you could buy this, I guess.
Like, because, like, man, so I gotta mention a couple of things, a lot of unpack here. Yeah. But yeah, like, I guess I'll mention the bracelet thing first. Yeah, they really focus on that and everything. And whereas, like, man, it's so difficult because it also sort of screams Scream vibes or whatever. Sure. Main character is dealing with the loss of her mother and everything during that.
I think they borrowed heavily.
Yes, they borrowed heavily, which I'm not saying like, you know, oh, it's a rip-off of Scream, or I'm not saying that at all. I just feel like it's definitely kind of...
If you want me to.
I mean, I feel like...
You want me to take the heat
No, you're good.
Hey, fuck you, man. You ripped off a Scream. I'm just kidding.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, so they do that, and it's like the hokey... Like... Like, whenever she pops up the little bracelet heart and it says mom, and it's like the worst fucking picture.
Just some Getty Images The watercolor's still on him.
And like both faces are on the edges of the frame as opposed to being someone in the middle.
They're just like, all right, you intern in the props department.
Yeah, and so
We need
then
a mom
like
bracelet.
she sets it down and she makes it a big deal. And then there's like the ultimate moment whenever she has to fire the blunderbuss and everything. And oh no, the little shrapnel falls down, and so she kisses her bracelet as she loads it in and fires that sucker off. Which
Did she say "I love you, Mom"? I feel like this movie she would say that.
yeah, except she follows it up with, oh my gosh, see, this whole thing is going to get jumbled and everything. It's going to be like a stuffing. It's just mixed in everywhere.
It's all in the turkey's ass now.
Jesus. And so anyways, like she loads it in a musket, and basically before she fires at the inflatable turkey filled with flammable gas and everything.
Of course. Naturally, the hose was connected to the turkey that is full of flammable gas.
Yeah, and she takes a shot. She's like, "It's like you said, no leftovers," which is the line that he says.
Yeah.
Which it's funny. I don't know if watching the Thanksgiving trailers from Grindhouse ruined or enhanced the watching of this film. I can't decide because they steal a lot of lines.
I think it almost ruined it for me because I'm like, that's what could have been. They do steal a couple moments too. I think like the cheerleader on the trampoline moment.
Okay, that was a goated hysterical moment.
That was
though.
pretty good. That was the stupid kind of shit that I wish they did more of in this movie, and they really held back the punches on that. But
yeah, because that's like one of the lines, like, this year he's not having any leftovers.
Yeah.
And mind you, like Patrick Dempsey delivered a line because like once it's revealed he's the killer, he's the worst fucking dude. Like it's terrible
he's not
Patrick
a great
Dempsey
actor.
Can't act like a slasher. He's
No,
just
he's-
the handsome nice guy.
He's literally only McDreamy. I'm sorry, Patrick. I've never seen you pull anything else off. Maybe I'm missing out on your discography. Maybe you got some bangers in there, but I think you're a little typecast.
Yes, and he definitely was not good at being a slasher or menacing or anything. He's like, and this year there's not gonna be leftovers, and I'm like, man, that was fucking delivered terribly.
It was delivered with the same energy as like the closing line in a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Yeah, it was. It really was. And
Happy Christmas, everyone!
yeah, and then it's like, the line delivery he had was so bad as the killer and everything. Like up to that point he was fine. He's just like the nice guy, just like,
I also think he got kind of shafted by the editing. I mean, like even the climactic moment where you shoot the turkey, we all know what an explosion's supposed to look like. I think they fucked up the explosion.
I think they did too. It just felt like no impact.
There was no punch. I know. I was like, come on, like that's the one thing. Like this whole film seemed like a muted version of what it should have been. But...
yeah, which is sad and everything. But yeah, so man, basically I just and I could talk about like man, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah,
like
someone knows.
Yeah, it just was because, like I said, whenever they first revealed, like, showed him at the beginning of the film, he's like, oh yeah, I'm just a single guy trying to do my best to bake a pumpkin pie, and like sort of that thing. That was the only breadcrumb I had that he could be the killer. But then they literally give you nothing else that could imply besides him. Even though they try to do the classic like Saw, like going back and looking at the pieces lining up, where he's like, anything you could do can help us or whatever. And doing that,
or
but
he's
like
trust no one, and they're like, oh, that should have been the hint to know that you can't trust him.
Even though it's just like a regular statement or whatever.
Right, a statement delivered after they were like, I think my boyfriend might be the killer because he knows a security guard and didn't tell me or whatever.
Yeah, and so that's the only thing I had to go off on because obviously Mitch's wife is killed at the beginning of the film and everything, and they have
like one interaction I remember, and it's when he comes in with the pumpkin pie.
That's
like,
it.
I think you won't be single for long or whatever. And it's like, okay, like that's the only hint that we have that they might have something going on or whatever. But also, it's literally the beginning of the film. We don't know.
Yes, it's
we don't
the
know
beginning
who
of
any
the
of
film.
these characters are. Like,
And so, like, I feel like they just only do that because they're like, okay, we can't make you feel like you're completely blindsided.
right, like that's the hint that they gave, and they're like, yeah, the 200 IQ people will be able to piece this together. But it's like it's actually literally nothing. It's like it's maybe a breadcrumb. But...
Like, I'm not gonna lie, I literally thought they were going to. Spoiler alert for Scream, in case I don't know why you wouldn't have seen Scream, but that's beside the point. I thought they were going to do the two killer thing where the boyfriend and the previous boyfriend were working together.
Yeah,
somehow.
that could have worked. Yeah,
But I'm glad they didn't, because I'd just be like, okay, this is literally just Scream.
yeah. I don't know. As they started setting it up, like my character list started to get crossed off because they had the guy whose wife was killed, and they were like hard pushing him in the beginning to have all the motive.
Yeah.
And then they switched to hard push the boyfriend, not Bobby, but the other guy,
Ryan.
And so as soon as they were pushing both those characters real hard, I was like, all right, these got to be the two red herrings. But yeah, there was fucking nothing for Patrick Dempsey.
Oh my god, yeah. It's just he's just literally like he has like just background energy, like just side character energy, just not a lot. And Patrick Dempsey, like, again, like, yeah, sure, he's ruggedly handsome or whatever, but I never bought him as an actual psychopath that go around killing people.
You know what it gives me vibes of? It gives me vibes of Matthew McConaughey.
Yes! Except for the fact at least Matthew McConaughey acted
at least he's a
completely
good
psychotic.
actor. Yeah, but it was like, I still didn't really buy it. I was like, this is Matthew McConaughey. I wasn't scared of him ever.
Yes,
you know
that's
what I
true.
mean?
That is true.
Yeah. But it was like,
I
this is
think you're
handsome
correct.
Matthew McConaughey with a weird bio. At least they gave him like a character in that movie. That's more than I could say for Patrick Dempsey. But
Yeah.
they gave him like a leg that he had to work with for some reason, but like a weird bionic leg. But yeah, Patrick Dempsey is just fucking, I'm the sheriff. And then he's like, actually, this secret affair is why I'm killing everybody because I was mad about it or something. I don't know. Like, they didn't even really give him time to monologue.
No, not really. It's just pretty... I think, like, the reveal of the mystery just definitely just, like, was a complete deflation where I'm like...
I was
like,
also, I mean, and again, I'm a little bit autistically hyper-fixated on some of the details. So, like, as soon as she looks at Bobby's phone in the fucking evidence bag, I was like, yeah, she's going to record his whole evil monologue, and then that's how he's going to be caught, or whatever. And then, of course, that's exactly what happens. It's just, I wish they, like, gave me an actual... I guess I don't wish that, because they did give me one thing I didn't expect, and that was Patrick Dempsey being the killer, and it was stupid. So maybe they did a good job playing it safe. Maybe it would have been lower than a 3 if they gave me more twists.
Who knows? But yeah, I definitely could have not handled any more twists there. But yeah, that's like the thing about like Mitch. They build him up to be like this sort of like main suspect, but then like at some point they just forget about him entirely. They like have him disappear the entire time and then only appear again at the Thanksgiving parade that they put on.
Which I feel like kind of like it almost soft deconfirms him, because they have him run out with the mask on and he's doing, but it's like a tease because he's just doing a anti-right mart protest in front of the float or whatever, and then the actual killer's there and it's a clown.
I felt cheated almost. Almost like you can't do that.
Right. That's not allowed.
Yes.
I thought I was cheated mostly by the fact that like it was the most ridiculous scenario and they just did not play it for the ridiculousness. They just played it straight, and so it was like so stupid that this guy's like just literally manages to tranquilize 4 people, like kill a couple others, steal a cop car with them all loaded in it in the middle of a parade. And nobody that's incredibly packed with high security because they know that something's going to happen at the parade. And still, they're just like, "Oops, we couldn't do anything about that because he had some smoke bombs." Like they're just like, "Oh, where'd he go? The clown guy that's right there killing everybody." And just people are running around past him manfully, and he's just like, he's got some magic tranquilizer that he just goes like, pew, 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 pew. He literally just shoots 4 of them in the back seat while they're just like, please don't. Like,
oh my gosh.
And then kidnaps them away. Like, I don't know. It's like, it sounds so stupid when I'm describing it. I wish they had played it up to be stupid, because then it would at least been like more funny for me watching it. I think some of the kills and stuff are always stupid, so like that's funny, but like, I don't know.
I felt cheated somehow that he dressed up as a clown. Like, in all honesty, I felt like it would have been better if somehow, this is just me in the writer's room, whenever Mitch, does like that mid-parade protest in the middle, that, they're all wearing like John Carver mask, which, by the way, how the fuck at this point is it not like, if you're wearing a John Carver mask, you will be arrested on point?
What would have been better? I feel like they should be looking out. They should have done the same shit they do, where she's looking in the crowd and there's John Carver masks or whatever, and then there's like, oh, that's not that guy because that guy took it off or whatever. And then instead of it being a clown, it should have been like the turkey or something. So it still would have been Thanksgiving themed.
Yeah.
And then he takes off the turkey mascot costume, and like it's the John Carver mask underneath or something, and it was like double disguise.
Yeah, like if anything, at least you disguise as something Thanksgiving related.
Right, but it would be great, and I would love that actually, because they showed the other dude put on the fucking turkey suit, but then like they could have done that and then just showed his dead body in an alleyway or something. He snuck into the turkey suit and got in the parade,
Yeah, because like I'm pretty sure they only did it because it was in the Grindhouse trailer. Like, it was a callback to that trailer and everything. But like, even that, like, have like, Patrick Dempsey be snuck into the protesters doing that or whatever, but then how do you get to do the decapitation turkey thing? Or whatever, like, at least, like, or like Aaron mentioned, just have it be in a turkey costume. It's just, I don't know why I get so irrationally upset about him in a clown outfit. I just feel like that's cheating. You're breaking the rules.
You broke the rule, and it's not even in a funny way. I don't know.
No.
I feel, and they could have presented it to be funny, where like, I don't know, there's a John Carver guy, and they're like, it's him, and then he like puts his hands up, or he gets stabbed or something, and then it's the clown behind him or something. I don't know. They could have revealed it to be funnier, but no, it's just like it was a clown. There's so many things that they could have done to make any of these moments in the film have more punch to them, but no, they just kind of phoned all of it in.
Yeah, it's just pretty whatever. Yeah, and I guess before talking about kills, because that's obviously going to be the main pull of this film for general audiences, talking about just how suspects popped up and how they were lopped off, because again, they were really focusing on the like Ryan Bobby sort of thing back to back, and so like there was a point, I'm not gonna lie, where I was just like, okay, I could see it being like one of those two or whatever, but then at the same point I was sitting there, I'm like, the film's making it seem like it's one of these two, but are they actually going to do it, or are they going to try to be like, haha, got you, guess what they fucking did,
right? I like almost kind of bought it whenever I saw Bobby in there. I was like, oh, I guess it is Bobby, and then like Patrick Dempsey comes back in, and I'm like, oh, that's weird, and then it ended up
because like that was like a weird fake out they did, because this entire time you don't know who it is, and then Jessica ends up at the warehouse where they have the Thanksgiving float and everything, and then she looks and she sees Bobby walking through, taking the mask off and hat off, and she's like, oh my god, it's Bobby and everything, which it turns out Patrick Dempsey just knocked him out, threw his body in a trunk, and was driving away, but then managed to get knocked unconscious by Bobby, I guess, as he's wandering with the costume on, but then he just coincidentally takes it off in the warehouse, I guess, maybe to avoid like thinking like, oh, I saw it was him for sure, maybe. I don't know. I know it's obviously just a fake out for the audience, but it just feels like, you okay? But it's like they have like that weird like animosity towards each other, one another, and that's again, comparing it to My Bloody Valentine, I believed the hostility between the two of them much better than this one or whatever. Because like they really played up at the beginning where they're like getting into fights with each other or whatever, and she's mad at both of them. But then they just both disappear from the film entirely. Yeah. They just disappear entirely.
I don't know. It's got some real like Twilight energy.
It does have Twilight energy,
and they're both fighting over this girl, and I'm like, why? Is there some reason why she's special or something? I don't get it.
Yeah, and it just was like, It was so weird because you don't know like whether it's want to be one over the other or anything else like that or whatever. And by the end of the film, it's just resolved a little bit too nicely where like Bobby's like, yeah, I'll see you around next time, right? And she's like, yeah, thanks. He's like, well, I'm glad your slimeball boyfriend wasn't the killer or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, I'm still gonna kill him even if he isn't the killer or something. I'm still gonna beat him up even if he's the killer or something.
Yeah,
like
and he just comes around and it's like, okay, I guess Jessica's with Ryan.
I guess.
Not that I was like, oh, her and Bobby need to be together. It felt like a weird ass resolution. Like, everything's fine.
Yeah, because it wasn't really a resolution. It was just like, yep, we're going to continue this grudge into the future.
Yeah,
it's
just like for Thanksgiving too.
Yeah, which they kind of try to tease or something.
Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna lie, that teaser was dumb as hell.
Yeah.
About it and everything. Just having her like being in bed with Ryan and she sees the closet door open and she turns on the light to look and then all of a sudden there's like
the flaming Patrick Dempsey.
Yes, trying to grab her and pull her in. Which at that point I'm like, okay, this has to be a dream because you cannot convince me that he is still on fire.
Right.
Just calmly walking into a closet, waiting to pop out.
They did the stupid tease thing where they were like, all right, no one could have survived that fire, and then like somebody walks out with a fire mask on, and she's like, is it him?
I know, and again. Spoilers for My Bloody Valentine, specifically 3D. They did that exact same shit.
I feel like they literally just kind of compiled this movie together out of the original premise, My Bloody Valentine, and Scream. There's like, and there's a movie.
It is, and I'm not gonna lie, like, obviously, I think a lot of great films do tend to borrow from other older films or whatever, but whenever you're just kind of like, man, just kind of reminds me of this film and everything.
Yeah, it's like wow, I'm watching a worse version of that film that I like.
Yes,
it's not. I don't know. There's ways to do that, and you can like it's an homage, or there's ways to do it, and you make it your own. And I feel like they tried to do that, but it just didn't. It's too similar, and the more we talk about it, but
yeah, and so. Man, and so then, of course, they reveal, like, yep, it's just a dream or whatever with her.
Then credits roll.
Yeah, and then credits roll. Except it shows the scene earlier where Jessica was talking to her dad, and it's like the part where he's like, yeah, I realize I was wrong to be that way and everything, and I just want to know I love you as a father to you. And he's like, oh, I love you, Dad. And it goes off screen, and so I'm thinking there's going to be some crazy-ass twist.
Yeah, because this is the post-credit scene, for the clarity.
Yeah, post-credit scene at the very end and everything, and I guess Rick Hoffman thought of the character choice to look at the camera, look like he's about to say something dramatic, and just flip everybody off.
Yeah, and then you hear the like laughing of the crew and everything.
And it's like...
I don't know, man. This whole thing feels like a fucking YouTube movie.
It does, and like it's definitely weird you would throw that at the end, because especially if you hate the film, then it's just literally like flipping you off.
Right, and it's like, I understand like that would be a good place to put a really funny blooper or something, but it just felt like, I don't know. You ever watch the bloopers that they put at the end of the movies, and they're not funny, and it's like, why are you subjecting me to this?
Yeah, or at least they do it in like the beginning credits or whatever, because they definitely filled the credits up with like, like Thanksgiving, not thanks buying, which was like one of the protest signs. They fill that up, and I feel like blooper scenes are definitely very much a time thing where you saw a lot of it in late 90s early 2000s film, but like whereas it felt like it was just more like here's some fun clips we have or whatever, just to choose one random ass scene that's a very dramatic in the context of it and just have it be like, it's a joke.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It felt weirdly placed.
It did. It felt like it wasn't for us, it was for them. But
yeah,
you didn't make a movie for yourself, or if you did, then that's fine, but I'm gonna think of that poorly. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if you write, it's the difference between writing a diary and trying to publish it and like writing a book for somebody. Like, I don't know. It's just like, all right, they put that in probably because they like the actor and that was a funny moment for the crew or something. And like, I'm not against that, but at the same time, it's just like, all right, for the millions of people that are watching and not the 15 people in your crew or whatever, like, It's like, okay, that was a weird thing to put in.
Yeah, it really was. But yeah, and I guess the only thing that I really am interested in talking about, since we've already talked about the mystery being bleh towards the end and overall motivation being even worse. Let's talk about kills, I guess, because that's going to be the main thing, and we'll talk about the Black Friday incident, which, again, it does irk me that, again, the assholery of that dude and everything, Evan, just be like, yeah, I just need a new phone all of a sudden, even though we made plans to go to a movie. Like, I'm already going to be pissed if I'm in that car and you were like, yeah, let's go to the movies. It's like, oh, actually, we're going to the store because I need a new phone and it's Black Friday.
I do feel like he's the one character that they played like to be stupidly ridiculous, and like no one else was there, so he just came off as being an asshole. But everybody should have been at that level of ridiculous, you know. But he was the one that's like, how else am I gonna text in the middle of the movie or whatever, you know?
Yeah, and it's like, who are you texting? And they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, they just end that because there's a part of the song they like, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, it's dumb. And so then they end up through the crowd, and again, this crowd is like ravenous as all get out. Like literally, they would eat a baby if it meant they got that free waffle iron. Like
they're chomping at the bit. They're letting us in.
And you know, you have like again, just more people to be like, hey, here's this character that's going to die later, like Lonnie or whatever.
Yeah,
that appears,
waitress lady or whatever.
Yes, she's there as well, and so it's building up or whatever. And I guess, like I said, the main group's able to get in because her dad owns the store, and so they let them in, and then they continue just to be assholes by throwing like a football around, and Evan is just like antagonizing the shoppers, like, oh yeah, I got a cell phone, oh yeah, waffle iron. And like, even talking about this now definitely makes me be like, that's a pretty fucking generous 5 I've got there. Maybe I need to trim off some stuff, thinking about it in hindsight, but I don't know. Like I said, 4 to 5 range, just let's see how that goes. But they have like this whole setup where, you know, they're there, and then Mitch's wife is there being like, I felt bad you weren't able to have, you know, Thanksgiving dinner because you had to go to work or whatever. And, you know, because they were all together. And then like whenever Patrick Dempsey comes over, oh my gosh, I just totally forgot about that cheesy exchange between Patrick Dempsey and Mitch. It's like, hello, sir, I'm trying to look for a subject, golden
that's the first line in the movie.
Yeah, a golden tan perfection missing a head, and it's like, well, as a matter of fact, I've got him served up on a silver platter.
Right.
Like, it's just so cheesy, goofy
and
stuff.
Like, how you doing, man?
Yeah, and they open that up, and you're thinking like, oh yeah, it's going to be that tone throughout, but then it took itself seriously at some point. But yeah, and so whenever his wife is there or whatever, Lonnie leads the charge for trying to attack them, and the security guard's like, oh, I'm out of here. You know, he's running, and then the other guy is sent inside to basically be like, lock the doors or whatever, and they're all banging on him. And I mean, it's like just have anybody in their 30s describe Black Friday and they would describe this or whatever. But then at some point, like, I don't know who it was, whether it was like Jessica or something like that, says like, we need to open the doors. And it's like, why?
Yeah, well, I think she's like, they're gonna break or something, and then they do break as he's struggling to unlock them.
Yeah, like the one security guy who is literally fumbling his keys. He's like,
oh jeez.
Yeah, and then wouldn't you know, he gets trampled to death, like you predicted, because you said at the beginning of the film, like,
no, I knew the wife was gonna get trampled to death specifically because she walked right in front of the waffle irons and then just like looked at the crowd and was like, oh, and then she's standing there the whole time, and I'm like, they're gonna trample her.
Yeah,
that's how she dies.
Not only I actually don't think she got trampled. I think carts ran over her neck. I think at that point.
Yes, died in the crowd. I mean, she got hit in the head and like $1 million babied by a shopping cart, and then it like grabbed her hair and they like show it ripping it out of her skull or whatever. Those little details are like, that's kind of funny. Like, that's what I was here for. Like, the hair getting stuck in the shopping cart wheel and like,
and then like the employee that's getting trampled at the door and everything. Bobby tries to go. He's like, I gotta help that guy. He's alive.
He's still alive.
And then he trips, and someone steps on his hand.
Well, because you can't just walk over there.
No.
For some reason, it's horror movie logic. So anytime there's a scramble, sometimes they're just crawling. Nobody can stand up, So he has to crawl all the way over there. We don't even know what knocked him down. He's just down.
Yeah.
I can't stand up to get over there. I have to army crawl, and so of course his arm's out, and somebody steps on it and goes.
Yeah, it just breaks and everything, which ruins his scholarship, the golden arm, as he's called.
Right.
Which, to be fair, was some of the throws he had towards the end of the film, throwing stuff whenever he saves Jessica. I kept making the joke in there, and I'm like, hell of a throw.
Hell of an arm. Yeah,
yes, exactly. Yeah. We were both just yucking it up, because...
That was good. Those were the good little details. That's what makes it a 3 and not a 2 for me.
Yes, but... It's just sort of like meme stuff like that. And then one of the guys that tried to break through the door gets his neck slit by the glass jutting out. And he's
still running in, like zombie style.
Yeah, it's trying to run in, get that waffle iron. People are literally killing each other for waffle irons. And the guy with the bleeding throat manages to grab the last waffle iron, but then dies. And then someone just comes up, takes it from them. All the meanwhile, Evan is just filming this while kicking people in the head. Like, yeah, get back.
Yeah.
Doing that, just being an absolute asshole again. It's just like over the top. This is like some Paul Brothers shit going on. Right. Doing that with just how much of a total asshole he's being the entire time. And, it fires... Patrick Dempsey fires his gun off in the air, and then it's like Thanksgiving, and like does the same title sequence like the trailers had from Grindhouse or whatever.
Like, that whole sequence was, I don't know, it probably felt longer than it was, but I was like, that
was long.
It was a long ass cold open.
It felt very
for the title just now to be rolling.
Yes, it felt very long. Man, I was going to talk more about the kills, but I gotta go back to our Golden Boys real quick. I need a palate cleanser after that and everything. Jordan Poole, one of my favorite moments is like, again, you have Evan being the asshole. He's like, yeah, you're going to write my paper later, because I guess he's handing out flyers about a party going around Thanksgiving or whatever. It's just like, yeah, just buy tickets, it's going to be pretty sweet or whatever. And then it turns out whenever Evan presents the report, the teacher's like, yeah, that's a pretty good report that you stole from my blog.
Right.
And everything. And I just love Evan's like, oh, I'm going to kill that kid, doing that. So I'm just like, I don't know. I think it's funny whenever they have like nerdy kids like actually have some spunk to them.
Yeah, I did think that was funny. I think that joke, like many jokes in the movie, was ultimately poorly delivered by the film, not necessarily the actors.
Yes.
Because they had him start the whole speech about the paper and then end it in like 2 sentences, so it looks like his presentation was like, these Native Americans don't like Thanksgiving.
Oh
that was it. But it wasn't even that funny. Like, that would have been funnier, but he just like said a couple lines of a paper, and then she was like, that was a beautiful speech, and everybody clapped, and then she's like, that you stole from my blog,
Yes. I think it's funny in context, just poorly scripted.
It's like a good joke that they didn't deliver greatly.
That wasn't executed properly on the script side.
Right, on the movie side and the editing side, whatever. Yeah, that's many jokes in this movie.
I do have to give props to in that same scene. I believe this is done by the actor Dorian Giordano, who plays the character Chad, where he's like, and that's why I'm not celebrating Thanksgiving this year. And he's like crying, and he like lifts his shirt off to show his absolutely ripped body.
Yeah, these 2 girls are like fawning over him. Like, that's the level of stupidity I wanted the whole movie to be.
Yeah. They gave you like little moments, golden moments.
Who the fuck was that character? I don't know. Why'd they give it to him and then all the other characters get stupid
This
doo-doo?
film almost had more fun with characters that only appear in like a couple of scenes.
It's like, oh, well, he could do it because it's stupid. It's like, okay, well, the whole fucking movie's stupid. Give it to your actual actors. But...
Yeah, but I do have to break down unfortunately the last scene that we see McCarty in, which is him at the house party and everything, where he's sitting out there, and they even have like a velvet rope that like Jordan Poole's unhooking and letting people through or whatever, and he has like this whole thing talking about Black Sabbath or whatever, and talking about like, and that's whenever they thought it was all over, whenever Ozzy left. But then came 5'0" Ronnie James Dio. And they're just like, who's Black Sabbath? He's like, get the fuck out of here. Again, it just gives me that vibe of like that dude that hangs around high schoolers who think that he should be on his level,
Right, who still thinks he's cool and doesn't realize he's talking to people that don't know the bands he's talking about.
Yeah, and then whenever he brings up Scuba and Jessica to like his room and is like, I'm taking you to the VIP lounge or whatever, and he has guns stored everywhere in every inconspicuous space, because like the first one he pulls out is like a guitar case and he's like going over the guns, he's like, yeah, that'll kill a grizzly right there. And Scuba's like, I just need like a regular gun.
He's like, do you have any human-sized guns?
Yes, he did that. He's like, oh yeah, and then he like hits like the jukebox, which opens and it shows a revolver there.
Yeah,
he's like, this bad boy is powerful. He's like, again, I just need a regular gun. Do you have one? And he goes to the bed frame and like hits like a drawer compartment, and then there's like a rifle there.
Yeah, like
but then he just grabs like a little gun. He's like, yeah, just make sure the safety's off whenever you pull.
Yeah,
doing that, and he was just very like chill or whatever. And he's just like, yeah.
Well, I think he said something like, he's like, keep the safety on so you don't blow your nuts off.
Yes, he does. Exactly. He does say that. But it's like weird because like they make him kind of like an asshole, but then all of a sudden they start doing like this last minute turn of like, but he's a nice guy. He's just rough around the edges because he's like, hey, be careful out there or whatever. Or he comes up to Jessica before the parade day float whenever they decide to do the parade because they need to set up a trap for the John Carver killer. And he's just like, hey, just want you to have this ring. My dad had it and it helped him a lot, which coincidentally is the thing that saves him and everything.
Right, well, they say specifically, he's like, my dad he said he saved his life or something. I was like, all right, well, how's this gonna come into play? Yeah, that's my problem with all the fucking exposition, is all of it is like so obvious, like this will come up later, and it's like, I don't want to think about this coming up later because this movie sucks.
I mean, if you think about it, McCarty's the hero. He's
true.
The hero
because she refused all the arms that he tried to give her, and then finally he was like, just take this ring, and then it saved her.
Oh yeah, and but like the belt knife.
Yeah, the belt knife. She could have used the belt knife.
I know, but it would have
the ring knife instead.
I know, it's just good that she happened to be wearing it and everything. Anyways, I had to just call out to the MVP in my eyes in this film, McCarty. So yeah, let's talk about killing, I guess. So besides the open, go ahead.
No, I'm just laughing. You're like, let's talk about killing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Well, usually this is like the exciting part, and to be fair, it is exciting, but
yeah, but.
You see what I mean?
I'm so sad about it too, because I don't even think most of the kills in this movie are that good. I think the kills in literally the fucking trailer thing that you showed me, the Grindhouse little trailer fake thing that they made for Thanksgiving, are like exponentially better than the ones that make it into the whole movie. But,
I would agree with that. Yeah, so the first kill we see is the waitress being killed, which she was at the Black Friday shopping incident and was definitely one of the more volatile shoppers and everything.
Right.
But basically, she's continually volatile at the diner or whatever, but then whenever she's locking up or
by herself,
that's whenever John Carver appears and stabs her, I believe, and then she's like stumbling backwards trying to run, and then he grabs her, dunks her head in this sink area filled with water, opens the fridge door to stick her face
the walk-in
and her
freezer.
hand.
Yeah, like sticks her into the freezer.
And then he's going over to grab his axe, which they had mentioned at the earlier part of the film, like at the John Carver house where they were filming that commercial. It's like, oh, someone's destroyed it, and they took the axe.
Yeah. There's like an obvious outline of where the axe was on the wall.
And you see like him in his lair house sharpening it, so you know he has it ready. And so anyways, whenever he tries to go for a swing, she manages to peel her face and hand off. And she goes to a room to try to use her cell phone, but there's so much blood on there, she can't get it to work. And then whenever she tries to face recognize,
it doesn't recognize because her face peeled off. That part was clever. I like that whole sequence.
But yeah, and so then I guess at that point she's looking at cameras, here's like the door close or whatever, and she's like, okay, I guess I'm gonna leave. And so she's like calmly like going to grab her purse and everything and just walking out trying to get to the car, and then she's like, keys, where are the keys? I'm like, he's in the car.
Yeah.
And then boom, headlights are on and she runs in a straight line trying to get to the dumpster. I'm sure to hide from getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
But what ends up happening is that she's halfway through the dumpster, and the sheer force of him hitting the car causes the trash can lid to cut her body in half.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. But it's the ridiculous I wanted. Yeah, you see all the stringy intestines come out.
Yeah, just like
he loves bisecting people. I will give him that. There's a lot of cutting people in half at the waist.
Yes, loves the guts, the guts coming out and everything,
the organs.
And of course you see, like, I knew as soon as she was cut in half and like the body was put out on display on top of Right Mart, I'm like, he's gonna make a, half off joke or whatever,
50% off.
And so that's one of the kills that happens. So it is over the top. Definitely over the top. Fits the theme of like the trailer and everything.
Yeah.
But it just is so ridiculous that I'm just like, I can't buy that the lid would snap somebody's body in half. But again,
no way it would.
like, I'm willing to suspend disbelief for something that stupid. It's like, okay, yeah. And then we get to the other kill, which is the security guard that was supposed to be there, but then ran away, and he's trying to flee the area because he's like, oh, I'm getting out of here. The killer's
But he can't find his passport. Everybody can't find something. This guy's a little klepto.
Not gonna lie, it did make me nervous seeing he had a cat there, because I was like,
are they gonna kill the cat?
Yeah, I know. Like, are they going to kill the cat? And I think the film knew that we would be worried about the cat being killed. But yeah, whenever he's missing the passport and he sees that the cat's in the kitchen, just sitting there, he's like, where's the killer? Where's the killer? Doing that, thinking like, oh, it's in the kitchen or whatever.
Yeah, and then the cat kind of turns to something in the kitchen. He's like, oh, good boy.
Yeah, doing that. But then all of a sudden, there's that turkey carver that comes from underneath the table, hitting him in the gut as he then gets a wire as he's choking him while the saw's going on inside his body, and just manages just to clean cut his head off.
Yeah.
And I do, and this is just me, like, this is stupid, but it's my kind of stupid. Whenever he's done putting the head in the duffel bag, walking away, the cat meows at him right by the food bowl.
Yeah.
And like the killer's just there looking, and then it cuts to him feeding the cat and just petting him and walking out. I'm like,
that's a good moment.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it a ton.
These are the moments of stupid that I wish filled the movie. But
I know, and it's funny because my wife was like, if he kills the cat, I'm going to be very upset. Like, doing that. So yeah, I live for those dumb moments that occur, and I think it's a long while before he kills somebody else, because I think the next thing is the trampoline, right?
Probably.
Yeah, which I have to admit, the reveal of it was just funny for me on multiple levels, because basically you have Lonnie being like, gym rat going around, just be like, yeah, keep working, and then he sees like, his girlfriend outside. He's like, oh, we gotta meet up, and he's like, we can't have sex here. He's like, we're not gonna have sex, you just sit right there. And then spotlight turns on to reveal the trampoline, which we saw in the trailer and everything. So it just honestly felt like this was like a fan moment, like showing like
they like needed to have this in.
Yeah, and they're like, look, ta-da, trampoline. And it was definitely funny. It was very funny to see them not go as far with the nudity as they did in the trailer and everything.
They went all out in the trailer,
but it. Now that I think about it, it's really dumb how Patrick Dempsey was able to turn Lonnie's head like 180.
Yeah, he's
and like superhuman strength. Like if it's someone like Jason or Michael, you believe it because they're like a supernatural force,
right?
Basically, but it's just some dude just doing that. But I know, suspend disbelief,
right? I mean, I didn't believe anything that happened in this movie could actually happen, but we're watching a dumb movie.
yes, you just have to buckle in. And so then she's like, jumping or whatever. And I will admit, like, the kill that they have in the trailer is definitely, like, I was kind of clenching. I'm like, man, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, because there's a little stabbing action in
yes,
some sensitive
yes, stabbing in an area that should not be mentioned. That even here on Poppin the Scary, I ain't gonna touch.
Not the kind of penetration we're looking for in that area.
Comedian over here. But yeah, so they forego that, and instead the knife comes up to hit like her foot or whatever, and then as she's falling, she's getting stabbed repeatedly
through the trampoline.
And I'm like, you know what? I actually prefer that
because
is
better. Yeah.
because in the trailer it just showed like whenever she did the splits
on top of a knife.
Yeah, which is funny because she actually does the splits in the movie, but it's before the knife's out or whatever. So they're showing like they're making nods to it. But I think Eli Roth took the higher ground by just showing like, let's not do that. Let's make a little nod. Yes, and yeah, let's not go Terrifier level. But yeah, and so that ends up being the next kill that occurs. Because basically the next thing that happens is that Evan and his girlfriend are kidnapped by John Carver, I believe.
I thought they were
going
killed. Are they kidnapped?
They're kidnapped because they were alive at the
they weren't at the dinner table. I thought they were both.
Evan was, remember, because John Carver asked what he's thankful for.
Okay, maybe they were both there.
Yeah. Actually, that's funny. I don't know what happens with
most of these
the character Gabby. You don't see her, so I assume
really know Gabby. It's like I know she's the girlfriend of Jan, but
I don't even remember seeing her. That's crazy that I don't remember seeing her.
Maybe she was sick that day, and they just
I don't remember at all. But yeah, no, because they basically were going down the hallway because I guess they're going to mess around because Evan's upset that they canceled the football game or whatever. And so she's calming him down and they're like walking down the hallway and then it just cuts to... Yes, because you do remember this because I remember you scoffed at this. They were walking down the hallway and Evan's like, "What's that?" to the recycle bin in the middle of the hallway. And then John Carver, like, it does the cut where he's like jumping around the corner and then it cuts back to Jessica.
Yeah.
But then Jessica tries to
like text to see where they are, and of course John Carver answers back like, "Come to me."
Yeah, doing that, thinking like, "Oh, it's Gabby," but it's not Gabby. And whenever she hears like the phone going off or whatever, she manages to avoid getting hit by John Carver, Patrick Dempsey, just whatever we're going to call him.
Yeah, because she sees in the reflection of her phone, I think, his mask or whatever gives her just enough time to like duck under the axe.
Yeah, and it's weird because she runs into a room that like is like I guess is it technically called cosmetology or whatever, which is like weird because that's where they were talking about like who the killer could be.
Yeah, and there's just tossing around all the heads.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are we in this room specifically with these heads? It's just to show like, oh, this room exists.
I thought maybe they were being clever and that's how they were hinting that Chad was going to be the killer because like he was just casually tossing a head while talking about like, well, I'm going to kill whoever does this, so we need to hunt them down ourselves or whatever. God. And so I was like, if this was a good movie, maybe that's what they'd be hinting at right here. But yeah, that one fell through, of course. But
yeah, and so of course she manages to escape or whatever, and manages to run outside where the cops have her.
Well, after she does the obvious thing of like she hides among the heads by putting her head on the table instead of just having her head under that same table that she was hiding on. But she had to do the Scooby-Doo thing for the gag.
Yes, for the gag and everything. And as she's trying to reach for the scissors, she dropped the hairspray. And as he goes to attack, she sprays him in the eyes.
I'm just surprised they refrained from like her turning it into a flamethrower. Because every time I see hairspray in movie, I'm like, that's where this is going, you know?
I know, maybe Axe body spray.
Yeah, right. Like, just gonna have a lighter in front of it.
Just do that, but yeah, and so then it ends up being like the next thing that happens, but then it's like Yulia's father comes up and says like, "We are leaving right now.
We're going to Florida."
Yes, we are going to Florida, yeah. And so they end up packing up, and so the group's talking to her, and they really have this focusing scene about her putting eye contacts in or whatever. And I was like,
people uncomfortable.
Yeah, just make people uncomfortable, which good job, Eli. I was uncomfortable. And I thought something bigger was going to happen, but it does lead to the fact that I guess like her Yulia's dad has like a sheriff watching over the house or whatever, and he's like, "Here, you take food you can eat." He's like, "Oh, thanks." You know, just like walking with full, and then meanwhile John Carver flips around the corner and you see her, and I was like, okay, what did he just shoot, like a crossbow or something like that? Because I didn't know it was a tranquilizer
hard
gun.
To tell, but yeah.
And then, you know, they have a fake out where like Yulia's dad, you know, she thinks it's John Carver, but it's her dad, and he's like, "Oh, you scared me." He's like, I don't see what the problem is.
Let me put on my headphones again so
yeah.
I hear nothing.
Yeah, so I hear nothing. Which I was going to mention, they did have like a stupid but really funny shot of after John Carver shoots the policeman with the tranquilizer, the corn cob rolls underneath his foot and he stops it, and I was like, that's stupid and funny. I like that.
That's a good detail. Yeah.
But yeah, and then of course he tranquilizes her dad or whatever, and then whenever he goes upstairs or whatever, you see Yulia cleaning her ears with a Q-tip as she's talking to her friends again, because of course they have to show like, hey, you know, I'm going to be attacked here. And I honestly thought he was going to jab the Q-tip down her eardrum or whatever, but no, keeping in theme of Thanksgiving, corncob holders right in the eardrums.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's stupid but funny. Again, like good idea. Good execution.
Good
really
stupid, yeah.
Yes, good stupid. And then as soon as Jessica and Scuba arrive at the house, John Carver has her at knife point, which again, he has the kitchen knife, which, you know, it's funny. I was like, I'm fine that he has a kitchen knife as a thing, because I know they have that be not Jason, good Lord, Michael's weapon of choice and everything. But obviously this is Thanksgiving. I feel like, yes.
Right.
So I'm not going to be like, oh, I stole that from Halloween. Like, dude, it's like a kitchen knife.
Kitchen knives are fair game.
Yeah. Yes, they're fair game. But he's holding him like at knife point or whatever. But then like Scuba's trying to shoot, but then he fails to shoot because the safety's on. And then he shoves her into like the saw blade because they're doing construction on the house or whatever.
Yeah, and she just gets sucked into the saw blade.
And it was just gratuitous blood, just like
she like it starts for her hand being on the saw blade to somehow her whole body getting run across.
And so the Scuba like pulls the body off, and of course more guts are spilling out and everything. And I don't know whether I like or dislike Scuba being like, what do I do? Like, just doing that, because I feel like I hear the dramatic scream a lot of times, but I also feel like that's a very appropriate response to seeing something horrifying like that.
Yeah.
But just something I should point out or whatever, I thought that was an interesting choice for him to be like, what do I do? And he's clearly traumatized and everything. And so then that's whenever they discuss and talk about, like, and Jessica's dad's like, we're canceling Black Friday and we're canceling the parade. We're not doing it.
The sale,
And then Jessica's like, no, we need the parade in order to draw him out and everything. And so they decide to go forward with the plan. And then we cut forward to, again, everybody being like, who's the killer? Or whatever, keeping crowd touch. The guy, by the way, I do like the guy that plays the turkey mascot. They point him out early in the film, like, oh yeah, he's the dude that plays the turkey in every Thanksgiving parade. And then he gets decapitated, which I felt like was a fine kill. Again, I think I found it more funnier in the Thanksgiving trailer because they just had him like leaning over crowd members and just spraying in their face, but overall, it was like, okay, yeah, that's fine, especially since it's like a turkey getting decapitated, just more homage to the film. And then that's whenever they all try to escape, and John Carver, as the clown, throws the grenade to like disorient them.
The flash grenade,
and then he shoots them all perfectly with the tranquil, like and then of course the Thanksgiving table that he was teasing them the entire time, especially showing like his victims being at or whatever. He ends up live streaming it because he wants to.
Yeah, because he's been doing this whole thing on Instagram anyways, or whatever their universe's Instagram is. He keeps on tagging them over and over like they're gonna die next.
And so they have that going on, and I mean, you had some great commentary, because it doesn't cut to the dinner table just yet, because you had to see exactly what Kathleen was up to, the stepmother, and she is being covered, basted and everything, which definitely glad that the turkey baster was not included there. I don't think I could have handled any basting like that.
True. We are
but they definitely have some Tarantino shots with, Grindhouse was helped fund by Tarantino. So in the credits, whenever it says thanks to Tarantino, I feel like it was just he gave a little more thanks.
Yeah, because it does start at the feet and goes its way up. They're tickling the feet with a brush, covering it. And I was like, that must be how that was Tarantino's contribution.
Yeah, and then sticking like the little garnish in between
In
the
their toes,
toes.
yeah,
and doing that, and of course, like Kathleen's awake, but she's pretending to be asleep because she needs to like, not give any awareness that she's awake.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it was such a weird choice. I have to mention this. It was a weird choice to have John Carver place the mask down on top of the oven, and then it's like hot, and I'm like, that thing's gonna burn. And then it was a burned mask that he decided to wear for a little bit until later he decides not to.
Yeah, until immediately after this scene, whenever they do the whole.
I just felt like it was weird. It was like, what was the point of that?
Exactly, I don't know.
Like it's just, it looks cool, but we can't commit to the look.
Right. Because we forgot to film the other scenes with this cool thing. I don't know what the reason is. I couldn't tell you. But...
the Kathleen trying to escape the house felt so long. It felt so incredibly long.
It did. It's one of those things that would have made more sense if that was like Jessica or something. But like, I don't feel like we weren't invested in Kathleen being alive. So it was cool that she was kind of crafty for that long, but it did just drag on, and she's kind of a bitch the whole film, so it's like, I guess I didn't want to see her get basted like a turkey, or get cooked like a turkey.
Yeah, but still, it was just kind of like, you okay, and everything, so, it just was just a weird choice overall, I felt like, so.
Yeah, but they do get her, they find, which girl was that? That's in the fridge.
Yeah, I think that was like Lonnie's like girlfriend that was on the trampoline, I believe.
Cheerleader, whatever her name is. But...
Yeah, I believe it was them or whatever.
Yeah, and she's like still alive, I guess, and just being tapped for blood because she starts like screaming, and she's like, shh.
Yeah, it just was weird. Like I just kind of felt nothing during all that. And the only thing that was funny is like as soon as John Carver is like on the chase and knows exactly where Kathleen's at, she tries running out the front door and he has the hell of a throw, which is what made me think like, oh, that could be Bobby because that was a hell of a throw.
Yeah, good arm.
Yeah, good arm, yeah, hell of an arm.
Throws that pitchfork and impales her,
and then cool. Yeah, and then of course ends up like showing her being like cooked alive inside the oven, and they really focus on that a while, and they even have like the little thermometer like stuck inside her just to show that it's ready.
Right.
Which, again, I think like it's a Thanksgiving film. Of course, you have to have something like that happen.
Yeah.
But whenever they present the Thanksgiving dinner scene and everyone's like dead and alive that he targeted is at the table, and he's streaming it because I guess he just wants a message to show the true spirit of Thanksgiving, I guess.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense once you find out what the character is and what their motive is. But I guess, yes, he has to be John Carver here and do some Thanksgiving stuff.
Yeah, and so basically, yeah, he starts like doing the voice modulator change thing again, which I'm not going to say, oh, that the Scream did it, because I know other films that can do voice changers. It's not exclusive to Scream, but I can't help but just be like,
because there's so many other elements that
right,
are like Scream,
yeah. And so they start streaming it or whatever, and he presents Kathleen as a turkey, where basically her head is cut off as well as like her feet, which has like the little like cartoonish little white caps and everything that you've seen like on a lot of like rotisserie chickens or turkeys or something like that. Yeah. So I felt like, okay, yeah, that's very in theme, very apt for it. But again, I feel like it's good moments like this, but it just, by the time it arrives, you're already so like exasperated that it's just not as impactful.
Just so much drug on exposition runtime in between these moments.
Yes.
That it's just like,
oh my gosh, very much so. Like we're cutting to the highlights or the bad lights or whatever.
The low lights.
But yes, the low lights. And so and I do like that John Carver going around is like, we're going to go around the table and say what we're thankful for. Choose your words carefully or whatever. And he starts with Evan, which, again, being the biggest asshole at the beginning of the film, he's going to get his comeuppance. But as soon as, like, John removes the gag or whatever to have him speak, he's like, save me, get me the fuck out of here, which they literally... you want to talk about stuff they stole from other films? Spoiler alert for Saw 2.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we know where he's streaming. It's at this location.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out, oh, it was just a phone recording from that location, but then he switches it to another phone.
Yeah.
Saw 2.
Yeah.
Fucking shit.
There's not a whole lot in this film I can point to and be like,
Yeah.
that's original.
Yeah, and so then, of course, whenever Evan's screaming, yeah, hell, we're at this location or whatever, he starts bashing his head in with the tenderizer, which, again, the effects look good,
True.
just for practical effects, so that is something I give a lot of credit for. If you love, like, unique kills and gore, you'll probably get your fix with this film.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But they bash his head in, and of course, during this time, Jessica has used the ring, Jessica, as she frees herself, and then Scuba, I do like that he just dives in for the attack, and then once he grabs the axe, he's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
and they all start trying to run out, but then I guess Jessica's the only one to make it out.
Yeah.
And then they really cut closely to her running through the field away from John Carver, where basically it shows like her running through sticker brushes and then jumping over the fence. And of course her little bracelet hangs on there.
Yeah.
Then it drops, but then as she continues to run, I felt like it was such a weird, like, this is like one of the things where I was like, that was such a weird shot just to focus on her brushing. But I guess it's just Eli Roth being like, oh, pay attention to that.
Right.
That'll be important later.
That'll be on the test.
And so I was like, okay, that was a weird thing to focus on. But basically, whenever Jessica's in the warehouse and Patrick Dempsey takes her back and just like, oh yeah, you're safe. We'll hunt down Bobby and everything. And she looks at her pant legs and then looks at his and see there's the sticker brushes on his feet or whatever. And then that's whenever he's like, all right, you got me. And he starts doing like his villainous monologue there, not knowing that she's streaming as well on there, which I have to mention, whenever they were streaming Evan's death, all the hearts and likes on there was hysterical.
It was funny. Yeah.
Just a small weird touch or whatever. It reminds me of, there was that Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight where everyone was... I don't know. I'm having all these illusions.
All the illusions. Man, I almost think that would be funnier if it was just like the wow face, because like I feel like that would be almost more realistic, and also that's just a funny emo. You know, the one where like, oh, like the little shock face, just like a bunch of those, and then a few like hearts and ha-has. That would be what the internet would actually do.
I think you're right. I think they definitely should have edited that. But yeah, no. Instead, whenever she like reveals who the killer is, it's like shocked emoji faces, and there's a couple of axe emojis or whatever. But yeah, so those are all the kills the film has to offer. Pretty unique overall, and of course, I have to mention how they carved a piece of the turkey and tried to force the dad to eat some, and I was like, okay, now that's making me gag and everything. So yeah. Anyways,
we both sound so tired. I'd rather go to my family's Thanksgiving than watch this movie again.
Oh my god, dude. Anything else you want to talk about this film? I don't think so. No, I imagine.
Man. Dude, I'm done.
Yeah,
since
we're
take me out of the oven, because I am done.
Yeah, we're like a few minutes shy of 2 hours.
Sheesh.
Sheesh, indeed. Okay, so with that being said, let's focus on a film that you probably do want to watch.
Okay.
Do want to watch, potentially.
Yeah.
So this film is going to be a sequel to a film we've seen previously.
A sequel.
And the film came out in 1987.
Okay.
And as you stated on a previous podcast, you and your brother loved saying this line to each other back in the day.
Oh. And it's the name of a movie?
It's not the name of the movie. It's just probably the most famous line from this movie.
Oh, and now you're throwing me off. I'm trying to think of the name. Okay, there's a good line in a movie.
And it's very timely. With
are we watching Garbage Day?
Yep. We're watching that film. So
it's Garbage Day.
Yeah, so I figured you could instead.
Sure.
We're going from a film you didn't want to watch to a film you really want to watch.
I want to watch this. See, this is going to be a film I want to watch, and hopefully is good bad. This one was a little more bad than I wanted, but so hopefully Garbage Day's good. Bad.
Yeah, I know, right? So there's only one way to find out.
To dive straight in.
Yep. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode, and we'll see you all again next time when we're popping the scary with Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2.
Woo!
You're not going to say anything to help me end the episode?
No.
Stop flipping me off, Aaron. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube, Castbox, or iTunes platforms to stay up to date when new episodes drop. To see what Aaron and I are up to, check out our respective Twitter accounts. For me, it is @CoalkirkVA, and for Aaron, it is @AnimalGameDev. Thank you all so much for listening to our podcast. We'll speak to you all again next time when we're popping the scary.